Interesting question for you. How is the coverage of the sport going to change? I know a lot of media guys have to be very nervous, TV and radio, about how these games are going to be covered because they're going to look to save money, these organizations. You're going to be at the ballpark an awful lot when these teams are on the road. And I'm sure beat writers, play by play guys, radio guys are very worried about that. This is your profession. Let me hear your thoughts. Go ahead. Let me go.
Yeah, that's certainly a concern, Chris, although it's secondary, obviously, to, what's going on with the virus and trying to get that under control and get people vaccinated. But I think that, I know that the Baseball Writers Association of America has been in contact with Major League Baseball to see where this might be headed as the season goes along. Are there going to be some easing of restrictions if the data suggests that the virus is more under control and people are at less risk? I think the fear has always been that the players and by extension the Players Association has long had the position that they would like nothing better than to keep media out of the clubhouse. They regard us as an intrusion, as a pain in the butt, as an invasion of their privacy, all those things, and have been lobbying Major League Baseball for quite some time to cut back that access. And the concern that we have as an industry is what is going to come out of that once we get back to, quote, normalcy, unquote. Will this be the opening for the Players Association and the union and the sport to say, well, I mean, we went through all of 2020 and half of 2021 without any clubhouse access and with everything done over Zoom and media conference calls. Why do we have to go back to it? And the answer, and, this may sound a little whiny if you're not working in the media to hear me talk about these things, but there certainly is value to face-to-face conversations with people, to building relationships with players and coaches and front office people, and being able to have those conversations at the ballpark and not be in a group setting where I think people are, feel like they're a little bit on stage, or they're a little more careful about what they say, more measured in their response. You don't get to build those one-on-one relationships. So I think that's going to be an interesting development to watch here. Maybe as we get to midseason, when we get to June and July, if things continue to trend the right way, do they start easing some of those restrictions, or are we kind of stuck in this pandemic coverage setup that has been in place for the last season and a half?
Interesting. Do you think the black cloud of December's labor negotiations will rear its ugly head throughout the year?
Well, I think in some sense it already has. The fact that the two sides could not come together on the DH and the expanded playoffs, the union's position that we don't want expanded playoffs because that'll further provide incentive not to spend. I mean, by the time that was being debated, a lot of the spending in the offseason was already done or not done, and it wasn't going to impact to the 2021 season. But it just shows the distrust that exists between those two sides. So in that sense, it's already reared its head in the fact that they couldn't address those two key issues before the start of spring training. And with 6 days to go before opening day, it doesn't seem like there's room to do it either, or much of an appetite on either side. I don't know that it'll manifest itself during the year, but boy, you talk to people across the game, Chris, whether it's agents or executives, or even to the extent that you can speak to players at this point privately, and there are a lot of people who do not feel good about where this train is going on December 1st. Fortunately, the CBA runs through expires after the conclusion of the postseason, so there's not going to be any eruption before that, but we could well be in some sort of lockout or job action throughout the winter where no signings were made. The start of spring training being on time would be held up and in doubt for next February. I know of few people who are not preparing for a nuclear winter.
I couldn't agree with you more. So we better enjoy it when we can. We will talk soon.
Yeah.
We better enjoy it when we can. You never know. Better talk soon. Keep in touch. Stay healthy. Good to get the vaccination going. And I'll talk to you along the way. Thanks for a few minutes here today, Sean. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure on my end, too, Chris. Thanks for having me.
You got it, Sean McAdam. Some thoughts, just a couple little things here on the sport. And I'll just add something right out of the gate. I mean, and we kind of hinted on it. If you're thinking the Dodgers are going to be, sort of fat cats and not be juiced up, you're crazy. I am telling you right now. I talked to them on the TV. Anthopoulos, Roberts, they are going to be very into it. The Dodgers are going to. Bauer is going to help them a little bit. The Padres with what they did and the moves they made is going to add a little spark to that rivalry. You're going to have some juice with the Dodgers. They're going to be very tough to handle.